Dodgers canceled plans to honor Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence during Pride celebrations.
The Los Angeles Dodgers disinvited the group from being honored at the team's Pride Night ceremony in June, claiming the group has been the source of some controversy.
People are reacting with hate, and it's just unfortunately very typical of the climate that we see today.
The religious advocacy group Catholic Vote first expressed concerns about the sisters being honored late last week. They say the group mocks real nuns. The Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence originated in San Francisco in the late 70s. They are known for doing charitable work throughout the city.
We literally saved lives, and our mission has always been to raise money for those who need it. We minister to the sick, we feed the hungry, we support queer arts, LGBTQ trans youth.
The LA Dodgers announced yesterday that it was uninviting the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence from its Pride Night celebrations at Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles. The team tweeted Wednesday afternoon that inviting the LGBTQ+ group has caused some controversy. As a result, the Dodgers decided to remove the sisters from this year's group of honorees. One of the people upset with the inclusion of the charity group is Florida Senator Marco Rubio. He has also written an open letter to the Commissioner of Baseball, Rob Manfred, saying the loathsome sisters are to blame. Rob has also written a Twitter post saying the group's motto is to sin by imitating Roman Catholic nuns. A post said that disgraceful imitation of Roman Catholic nuns by drag queen performers should not be celebrated. Sister Roma from San Francisco chapter of the Sisters tweeted she's disappointed in the team's decision. The Sisters is a group of gay men in nun drag preaching about the benefits of living authentic lives. The group has evolved into a unique mixture of federally recognized nonprofit, protest group, and street performance troupe. It has missions around the world. California State Senator Scott Wiener also took to Twitter to condemn the Dodgers' decision, saying, quote, "We expect more from our sports teams, even the Dodgers." End quote. And boy, isn't that just the way now? This is bigger than the one event at Dodger Stadium, which is a loss because that stadium is iconic. The world knows it when you look at it. It is central to Southern California life. And so to be uninvited is a slap in the face. For Marco Rubio to use his platform for something this petty, and he said debating marriage equality on the floor of the Senate was a waste of time and unnecessary. Yet he uses his time and resources to rail on us against the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, which is an amazing group. It's also key to remember here in Florida, it only takes one parent in some school districts to complain about any book, and that complaint will be investigated and reviewed. So it's really the small minority in America has the largest microphone right now, and this is the most.
I mean, they only have the largest microphone if we allow them to have the largest microphone. And you know, there's so much to unpack in this story. I mean, oh my God, from the Dodgers and the thing and the historic, and you touched on so many of them. But the reality of it is this, okay? Like, we are under attack. We already know that. But how are we going to come back on the offensive? And I don't want to talk about the attack anymore. Honestly, I appreciate everybody's eye on the attack. But how do we create the offense now and the response to the attack? And, you know, listen, I met Sister Roma out in San Francisco, and man, you know, people don't understand art, but I'm not even going to unpack that right now. There's so much to unpack in every little...
I'm going to add to what needs to unpack. Somewhere, I read the story and something went off in the back of my head, so I did a little bit of a Google lookup. And when I saw what I saw, it's like, okay, I really shouldn't be surprised that, because the Dodgers have a history of homophobia. And you need to go back to one of their well-known managers, Tommy Lasorda, who never mentioned the word AIDS, despite the fact that he had a gay son who died from AIDS, still never said a word.
Thank you.
We won't get into his assault on the Philly Fanatic as a nice Philly boy that I am, because it's a side issue. But I kind of am not, you know, after seeing this, it's like they have a history of homophobia. It goes back a long time. We need to start there.
Well, do we need to start there? Or do we, again, come into the present moment, the present day, the present offense on our community, and then create the strategic response to how we're going to come back from this? Like, are we just going to sit here and keep taking the lashes?
Well,
I mean,
Chef,
I'm into BDSM too, but like, really, you know?
Chef, you're like me. Like, you want to fight. We want to fight now. But like, we want to physically harm someone at this point because it's getting too much. I think the way that you combat this is by letting people know who the sisters are and what they do for the community. They're going after someone who's probably more of an activist than any other group that we know in the LGBT community to this day, other than the large groups like Florida Equality or Save Group and all these types of groups, nonprofits that are actually creating places to make money to give back to the community. This is what these sisters do. Sure, they dress up as nuns, but they also act like nuns, and they're probably the most activist group in the community. Why aren't they saying that? You know what I mean? Like, sure, they dress up like nuns, but they probably act like Mother Teresa as well.
And let's be honest, like, what is Marco Rubio getting into this conversation for? That's not even his state. Like, why don't you handle the business that you have here in Florida?
Because it's his flair to shoot up. Please, Ron DeSantis, please like me.
Make me your VP.
Yeah.
Make me your VP.
It gives them some screen time, you know, which they obviously want, trying to be as relevant as possible. And to state the obvious, I mean, the Roman Catholic Church doesn't have the best reputation in most people's eyes anyway, you know?
Recovering Catholic.
Yeah.
So if the sisters had never been invited, this wouldn't even be an issue. And the case could be made that they're still having Pride Night. They're still, recognizing and celebrating the gay community. But with this disinvitation, I'd like to know what you all think. Does this make Pride Night at Dodger Stadium seem like tokenism at this point?
I think we need to look at a larger issue, and that is they want to erase drag and trans people. And it was well documented that the Stonewall Rebellion in 1969 was started by trans people and drag queens. And I have heard gay people specifically try to deny that. And I think this is just, until we own our history, and, I think on some level, we sort of need to clean up our own backyard a little bit, because there are people who are keeping quiet, and I don't think they understand how much danger we are in.
So that brings me back to my question: should they still have Pride Night, or is it tokenism?
You want to boycott that Pride event at the Dodger Stadium, is what you're saying?
No, I'm asking a question.
Yeah.
Does their disinvitation change the entire tenor and meaning of the night?
Well, we knew it was a way for them to make money and to them to reach out to a new demographic and to seem like they're not homophobic, to the mass community, right? Obviously, by this disinvitation, they're just letting them know that they've given up and they're no longer a part of the community at large. So why should we be a part of something like that? Why should the gays and lesbians go to an event where drag queens and trans are not invited?
I love it. I love it because, when we accept the T as the LGBTQ plus community, in which we talk about this often, right, is how our own community doesn't even accept and support and receive the T in our own acronym, right? Like, this is exactly a solution. This is what I'm talking about. How do we respond? And maybe that response says, hey, taking in everything you've said about the history, the history of discrimination and the history of homophobia and all of that fun stuff, then bringing in this, like, guys, let's put our money where our mouth is and stop giving money to the people who are putting money against us, and having this legislation being actually activated in this country, guys. That's what we have to understand, is that money has power. And where we put our money, we are backing those candidates, those organizations, those businesses who are actually putting money, investing into funding these politicians who are creating those bills that we're all screaming about.
And I think it's just more important now than ever for us to, whether it is a queer festival, a restaurant, a news media outlet, anything, that we're doing. It's just, we need to have our own things and not rely on, can we be included by whomever wants us to be their token for the evening? It's more important now, like I said, than ever for us to establish ourselves and have our own businesses. Because, you know, if we do end up boycotting them and we lose our voice in that sense, we just need to have our own platforms.
Yeah.
Our own doctors.
Absolutely.
Dodger dogs are nice, but it's going to be a hard pass on this pride.
It's a hard pass. All right.
We are Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only live daily LGBTQ+ evening news show from Happening Out Television Network. In the model of PBS and NPR, we educate, inform, and entertain by supporting the 10 pillars of the LGBTQ+ community, with more than 100,000 a week watching on Roku, Apple Television, and other channels. To keep the stories going, we accept donations with 100% transparency. Stay updated and live authentically with Queer News Tonight.